Over the past few years, there's been a growing and somewhat uncomfortable realization in education. We may be facing a real decline in literacy among children, not just in isolated pockets, but across the entire system. Here in Canada, the picture is subtle but concerning. Reading scores have been gradually declining over time, and a significant portion of students, roughly 1 in 5, are not reaching basic levels of reading proficiency. That means many students are struggling with something as fundamental as understanding written information well enough to function effectively in everyday life. When a foundational skill like reading begins to erode, gradually it raises deeper questions about how we're teaching, how students are learning, and whether our assumptions about education still hold up. When we expand the lens to the United States, the picture becomes sharper and more alarming. Recent data shows significant drops in reading scores, with large percentages of students falling below basic proficiency levels. In some cases, these are the lowest scores recorded in decades. And importantly, this decline doesn't start with the pandemic. It was already underway and has since accelerated. So the question becomes, what's going on? All right, joining us, a concerned dad and somebody who's gone deep on the topic, researching this for today's show, our very own Nick Delinsky. Thanks for joining me, man.
No problem, man.
So here's some of the stats. This is just children, K to 12. 18% of Canadian 15-year-olds do not meet the baseline reading proficiency. Low-performing readers increased from 14% to 18% since just 2018. This is stunning. That decline, minus 13 points, between 6 and 12 months of learning loss. And that, I guess, is COVID-related, educating from home.
The problem started before COVID. So this decline started before COVID happened. Now, COVID didn't help, of course. There are a lot of things that people point to in regards to this problem, but it was very important to me, being the father of a 2-year-old who's about to go through the school system. So I really wanted to find out why this is happening and how I could steer clear of it with my daughter.
Absolutely.
And the topic came up here, and I decided I sort of raised my hand and said, I want to talk about it.
Okay, so now, as you started to dig deep on this, first of all, where did you start your journey?
I got tipped off from the topic from a TikTok from a school teacher in the U.S. Talking about how much trouble her children have with reading, critical thinking, being able to form complex ideas. It was really, really disturbing. So that kind of triggered me, so to speak. And so I just started looking into it, like what are the causes, what are these things, how can I steer clear? And eventually a video appeared on my feed that was talking about critical literacy. And this idea of critical literacy, what this YouTuber was saying was that the reason why childhood reading rates are so poor is because in maybe 30 years ago, 20 to 30 years ago, school systems switched from teaching phonics to teaching critical literacy, she said.
What is critical literacy?
Okay, critical literacy, I will read it, the description.
Yeah, let's be critical and literate.
Yes, we will.
And literal.
We'll be semi-critical, semi-literate. So critical literacy is an approach to reading, writing, and interpreting text that focuses on examining power, bias, and social context within language and communication. Instead of asking, what does this text say? Critical literacy asks deeper questions like, who created this message and why? Whose perspectives are represented? Whose perspectives are missing or marginalized? What assumptions about society are being promoted? How might different audiences interpret this differently? Okay.
Well, that's a lot to load into reading something.
It's to me, my reaction to this when I heard about it was that this is completely absurd. This is completely cart before the horse. How is a child who's 7, 8 years old supposed to understand like whose perspectives are represented in Cat in the Hat?
See John run.
Yeah. So
wow, no. let's just learn See John run.
Of course, you know, it's just
Who's he
common
running
sense.
from? Why is he running? Why won't he walk?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it's nonsense. So it kind of set me off, and I said I got to look into this more. Like, what is this critical literacy thing? And then you know, I led down a few rabbit holes, and I started seeing it more in social media. This critique of sort of woke teaching methods, making our children illiterate.
Is it a real thing, Nick?
It's not, and that's the spoiler. It's not.
No kidding. It
No.
just feels like it would be an impossibility to impose that on top of just learning how sentence structure works, how words are formed, where you put the emphasis on the syllables properly.
Yeah, absolutely. And this was the role of phonics.
Phonics. I remember phonics.
Hooked on phonics.
I was hooked on it.
But the funny thing is that I had a family member way back in the day who had trouble reading, and she went on Hooked on Phonics. And the truth is, and this is true, that Hooked on Phonics became popular amongst parents in the 90s, early 2000s, because it seems that the newer methods of teaching reading weren't working very well, especially amongst kids with learning disabilities, dyslexia, things like this. So yeah, it seems like there's these new methods that are just not working well. So
sorry, Nick, where did take me back again? Where did this originate? Where did the seed of this get planted, and how did it start to grow in any education system? Or did it ever get planted? Did it ever make its way into any system? Or are we just highlighting embarrassing moments of teaching from different places to illustrate this?
We are highlighting. I would say the situation is complicated and misleading, I would say. And I think a lot of people don't fully understand what the situation actually is, especially when you throw politics into the mix. So the truth is that, well, this is a real issue. A lot of children are not being taught using evidence-based methods. Critical literacy, on the other hand, is a whole other story. So there was a report done by the Ontario Human Rights Commission. So this was I think it was conducted in 2019, and they report, and this came from this was a complaint from parents of children who were struggling to learn with in the current school system, and the Ontario Human Rights Commission had to get get involved because it had gotten so bad that children with dyslexia, with learning disabilities, marginalized kids were not being taught properly how to read. Now I went to the report and searched critical literacy and got zero results. So critical literacy was not brought up. Instead, what was brought up was something called balanced literacy.
What's that?
Now, balanced literacy is often confused with critical literacy.
Okay.
So what balanced literacy is, and I'll have to read it as well because it's a bit jargony.
The cat and the hat and the other cat too.
Yes. The other, you balance with the other cat. No. So balanced literacy. So what balanced literacy is? Balanced literacy emerged in the 1980s and 2000s as a dominant approach to many school systems. It was influenced by whole language theories, and this is the key. Whole language methods of reading. So rather than sounding out words letter for letter to figure out what the word is, you're supposed to. I don't know exactly, but look at the word as a whole to recognize its meaning and how to read it, I guess.
Interesting.
It focuses on reading authentic text, student choice, writing workshops, contextual guessing strategies, meaning making from text. This is a lot of claptrap, really. It sounds very holistic, but ultimately it's just not very effective. So this came out in the 1990s as supposed to be this better alternative to phonics, I guess, or better alternative to teaching reading. But ever since it's been implemented, it's been abundantly clear that it's not an effective way to teach reading.
And the pushback on it have we found ourselves back in the phonics realm with that age group?
Well, in Ontario, yes. So in Ontario, after the report was made, Ontario did actually put initiatives forward to focus on evidence-based literacy teaching, particularly phonics. But this has been an issue, especially in Canada and the U.S. The U.S. has also switched over to balanced methods, and there's been a lot of fights about getting phonics back into schooling.
Kind of begs the question, and I think it's good that we advance society through education. I mean, we'll do that with technology, we'll do that with discovery and advancements. But I have to ask, it just seems to me, and you've been an educator, shouldn't we just leave some of the basics alone? The basics being how to communicate, how to write, being able to frame it so that marginalized students or students with different challenges in learning to read and write have a margin against which we can measure. It seemed like it worked very well for my generation, and that sounds like an old guy thing to say.
Yeah.
Maybe there's better ways to teach it. Maybe there's better way, but the basics of things like phonics, creating sentence structure using, that kind of teaching method, shouldn't that maybe just be left alone?
Well, in this case, it should have been left alone. Of course, I could understand why researchers, educators would want to find new ways and even better ways of teaching children how to read, if there are more effective ways. But unfortunately, not all new ideas are good ideas, and this was not a good idea, it seems. And there had to the Human Rights Commission had to get involved, at this point, because they've been using this empirically unproven method for 2 decades.
That's a great point. The education system would have been left to do this, continue with this, unless another branch of the government looking out for our human rights got involved.
Yeah, absolutely. It is, it is outrageous. It's absolutely outrageous. I can't believe that, was it nearly 30 years? We've been using inferior methods to teach children how to read. So, in terms of, what I would say to other parents, who are in my same situation, it would be that, you should check with your children's schooling and see if they are using evidence-based methods. And if not, insist that they do get it. And if they can't get phonics education, unfortunately, you may have to go, outside the system. There's Hooked on Phonics still exists, and it exists for this reason.
Yeah, I can imagine. And then I take a look. Do you mind if I dig down on some of the other stats that you provided?
Yeah.
I found this just as disturbing. Adult literacy has declined significantly in recent years. Well, that's because we've had 30 years of teaching it wrong, or approaching it incorrectly, perhaps. Reading scores declined. Most OECD countries, 36 participating nations, reading scores declined across the board.
That is true. And so reading is declining all over the world. It is especially bad in the U.S. So Canada is not doing quite as badly in regards to literacy. But the other thing is that we can't attribute all of this problem to balanced literacy in particular. There are so many causes, and we all know,
of course,
what this, there's
variance of student to student, even, right?
Absolutely. And difference, our education systems are underfunded, things like this. Things like TikTok, visual media, social media has taken all of our attention and taken it away from proper reading and things like that. There are many causes to this problem.
Let's be honest, Nick. How far away from grunting at our computer at ChatGPT are we from writing a novel? Wow, there we go. I know what you mean.
Masterpiece, Pulitzer Prize.
So I think that's another challenge that is out there. You want the basics built into your little human that understands that what is getting fed back is looking wrong and written wrong, and that's because it's not a human doing it.
Right.
That distinction has to be made by understanding the language and how to apply it, how to read it, how to apply it in writing. Very, very, very disturbing. 1 in 5 students is challenged with a reading problem, has literacy issues.
Yeah, and what I hear is that a lot of English majors, so new students to university studying English, have not read a full book in their life.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty
I
wild.
thought that was just left to us radio graduates.
Yeah.
I didn't know that it was a pandemic of non-reading.
Yeah, well, it's English. So, we're not talking, meat cutting. We're talking English majors.
That's outstanding. It's so funny because many universities that have big literature programs and also big math programs, their math skill set and the students' skill set is enormous. And the literacy side of things, they fall off entirely. And where you have to blend in university, that's where they get the most turbulent waters for these students. Yeah, technically speaking, math related, science related, very strong. Communication skills, very poor.
Yeah, and I think Chat GPT and things like this could also be a culprit. I mean, writing is reading. So if you're sending all of even the simplest writing that you're doing through Chat GPT, you're losing that skill. You're having that thing write for you. Tons and tons of issues regarding reading. It's very complicated in this regard, but definitely balanced literacy. Got to go.
I heard a teacher recently say to their students, make spelling mistakes. That's how I know it's you. We can correct the mistakes.
Well, wait until AI starts making spelling mistakes on purpose.
Why did you say that out loud? Now AI is working on that as we speak. Nick, I really appreciate this.
Thanks, man.
And by the way, if I may take a moment, everything you see, everything that happens here on TPL goes through the technical eyes and through our producer, Nick. So thank you so much on behalf of all of us for that.
Thanks, man.
Do an amazing job. Thank you for being with us. Don't forget to subscribe, tell a friend, complain about today's show in the comments, or even just add more to the conversation. That's how we get new shows. Thanks. We'll catch you next time.
Patriotic means looking out for each other and fixing things together.
True patriotism is being in the country you love, surrounded by people you love, and great weather.
Being a patriot is being a part of your community and caring for it.
It doesn't matter who you are or where you're from, patriotism is the one thing we all share.
It's okay to be critical of government and still be a patriot.
It's gratitude to your country.
Of course I'm a patriot. I'm Canadian. It's my home.
Well, actually, true patriot love is the mission.